I got an email this morning about different types of leadership, and something that I always identify myself with was servant leadership. I have over 10 years experience being in the military, dealing with soldiers in a position of authority over them. I learned to never let the rank get in my head, and that's something that I always carry. So I continued to pick up as I was going through the years. And the way I used to develop my soldiers was servant leadership. And I'm gonna go over a few points on that and how it will help the company and the team that we have. So number one, leading by example. So something that I learned in the military and being in the sheriff office for 7 years was leading by example. So when I put myself in their shoes and I perform the way I want them to perform, that's something that preach more than 1,000 words. I can speak all day long, but that one picture of getting involved with them is the results that you get from that is sometimes is unmeasurable. Sometimes you cannot just measure that, because the impact that you have in these individuals when they see you getting your hands dirty as well, getting involved with the team, with the squad, and regardless of what's going on, that preach more than 1,000 words. And when the words are dropping their numbers or an incident or something that happened, my first question was, how's everything at home? And something I've learned in my experience, if you don't want to say every single time, let's go with the 90% of the time, when there's something going wrong, it's typically linked with something with the individual, something back at home, maybe something they're worried about. And building that trust, and that will lead me into the next point, which is taking care of the team first. That will motivate them and build a trust and a culture when the soldier, they don't just call me because something's good. They also trust me enough to call me when something's wrong. And that's another thing that you cannot just say and they will automatically do. It's something that you have to show and build over time, building that culture of trust that will directly impact their performance, their numbers, their stats, keeping accountability, phone calls, customer service. If they're not okay, the mission is not gonna be okay. And having a team that is engaged, but they're not just doing it because they have to, they're doing it because they have the passion and the heart. I think that's something that can be built 100%, and that's the direct impact on the mission, in this case will be on the services that the company provide to their customers. The point number two is help me identify natural leaders. So whether they're subordinates and maybe I have a rank above or whatever the case is, they're still natural leaders amongst every single team. That will help me identify those that I know I can count, that I know I don't have to worry, and then allow me to focus and develop those that maybe are shy or maybe they're not as extrovert or developed as the other ones. And I can develop new leaders that can eventually assume a role and grow in the company as well. Number three, I want to talk about the levels of competence. This is something I learned over the years. I learned that sitting down at a table like this one, and something that I carry with me every single day. And this will literally impact everything. Everything will impact everything. The levels of competence. There's 4, and everybody in every single career, they start with number 4. The number 4 is unconscious incompetence. So for number 4, we got unconscious incompetence, is that basically you don't know what you don't know. At that point, when you start something, you're always gonna be a number 4, which is unconscious incompetence. We need to bring that to number 3, which is conscious incompetence. Now you know what you didn't know, but you're still not good at it. You just know that you didn't know how bad you were. So how do we go from number 4 to number 3? It could be as simple as a seminar, one class, maybe reading a material online. And that will bump you from number 4 to number 3, which is now you're consciously incompetent. Still incompetent, but now you're aware of what you didn't know. Now we want to keep going up the ladder. But number 2, you're consciously competent. Now you are aware that you are competent. How do you jump from number 3 to number 2? Training. There's nothing else but training. That development that comes from the leaders, that comes from classes, seminars, training, whatever the company have to offer, but ultimately to the first line leaders. Majority of people always operates on that number 2, that consciously competent. Majority of people everywhere, companies, military, law enforcement, we can go on for days. Every single place you go, most people will operate at the number 2 level. They're consciously competent and they are okay with it. Number 1 will be unconsciously competent, where you are no longer thinking about something because now it became a second nature. It became muscle memory. Now you don't have to think about it. You just do it because you practice so often. You got involved so often. That training became part of your life. You go home and you think about, how can I improve? How can I become better tomorrow? How can I avoid this tomorrow? And you constantly improve to the point that you become unconsciously competent, where you no longer have to think about things to get it done right.